Prince's last Diddy recording played in trial.
The courtroom was calm until the opening notes of a Prince song played during testimony. And Diddy? He snapped. Was it a coincidence or a message aimed straight at him? Let me know what you think. I'm replying to every single comment.
Cassie said he would get physical. The one male guy who did things with Diddy and Cassie said he witnessed him get physical. Don, so again, we talked about how the domestic charges aren't, what he's being, what he's on trial for. But boy, it's stacking up. And I feel that the jury is going to take that into consideration.
The first Diddy party I went to was at Prince's house. So you want to go to Prince's house to the Diddy party where Tyrese is performing and Demi Moore and Ashton Kutcher are swinging on swings. That is what's happening on the other side of the wall. And so the one thing that makes this party different than a Jamie Foxx party or any other celebrity party that wrangles a bunch of young women or guys or whatever too, is that Diddy didn't let you bring your security in the party.
It became such a big deal back then is ever since my third album, I wasn't really taking large advances from the recording companies. I was recording the albums myself in my own studio. So the way I looked at it, I owned the work because I paid for it. And I did all the work. I created it, so I felt like it should belong to me. That said, the companies felt otherwise. And they would always hold this contract up and say, well, you signed it. And I say, well, I understand that. It's not like I want to leave. I just want to, talk about this thing and see if we can't make it more fair. Of course, they wouldn't change because if they changed, they wouldn't really exist. And that's kind of the situation we're in right today. They're not going to exist much longer. But it's not like we're against them or anything like that. The idea is that we find better ways of working with one another. It shouldn't be a situation where they own the album or the work. We're talking about intellectual copyright. If they're going to be indeed a delivery service, then that's fine. But even FedEx doesn't say that they own the thing that they...
It's wild that a single song, just mentioned in court, could trigger that kind of reaction. What do you think it reminded Diddy of? Comment your theory. I'm replying to every single one of you.
I'm trying to listen. I mean, there's a lot of this stuff that I've heard and seen already. I'm really trying to connect the dots here and think like, damn, what if Prince was what if he caught wind of some, I'll just say allegedly, stuff that Diddy might have been doing that seems to be, like, I ain't talking about consensual things, I'm talking about illegal things or whatever. But I'm just like, would Diddy be that dumb to not think that Prince, this celebrity, has cameras in his house as well? So I'm just trying to think, because if Prince has cameras and he's recording stuff, to get some dirt on Diddy, I don't know. I feel like Diddy, with all his cameras that he allegedly had, or no, they actually found cameras.
That I don't know, right? What I know is that he was really health conscious. He was a vegan. He didn't abuse alcohol. I didn't know of him abusing drugs. He worked out, so, that also really concerned me because it made me think that, wow, so you mean you do all these things to take care of yourself and you die so young?
It was already one of the most high-stakes trials the industry had seen in years. The kind of courtroom where every breath felt loaded, every glance possibly a headline. But nothing, absolutely nothing, could have prepared the people in that room for what happened next. Because just when the witness testimony was starting to get intense, just when things were beginning to boil, the unexpected happened.
Ventura's attorney is optimistic outside of court.
Doing great. I said she was ready, and I think she's demonstrating that. The facts are the facts, the texts are the texts, and I think that the evidence will be clear as the case goes on and Cassie's testimony goes on, and we'll see what the jury does.
That Ventura had a choice and that she chose to participate in those sexual encounters.
She's being asked specifically about the drug use.
She is clearly excited about freak off.
Cassie Ventura on the witness stand for a fourth day in the federal criminal trial against hip-hop mogul Sean Diddy Combs. The defense continuing cross-examination this morning, confronting her with dozens of her own messages, many explicit, hoping to convince the jury she was an eager sexual partner who matched Combs's desires. I'm always ready to freak off, one message said.
A song began to play. Not just any song, a Prince song. And not just in passing. Loud, clear, and echoing through the courtroom like it had been cued by fate itself. In that instant, everything changed.
She was into the freak-offs herself and was like a willing participant and was into all the freaky stuff, and essentially that was the crux of what they were trying to do yesterday.
And do you think they proved that or not?
I mean, there's texts like that from 2009, I'm always ready to freak off. There was some other texts where she was referencing like hitting him up about the FOs, is what they were referring to him. To me, like, yes, this doesn't look good, but at the same time, I think the timeline is crucial here. And these are texts from 2009, man. That was when they were first getting in the relationship. She was young. Obviously, they were in the honeymoon stage, and she was stoked to like, oh my God, I'm with Diddy. I'm living this lavish lifestyle. Of course, she's going to be saying things that she knows will curry favor with him to keep it going.
Combs allegedly planned and controlled the sex performances, which he called freak-offs, and he often electronically recorded them. The freak-offs sometimes lasted days at a time.
Where she is entertaining other people in the bedroom. He enjoyed having the freak-offs.
And finally, we'll talk about Justin Bieber because he is finally addressing the Diddy stuff. There's been long speculation that somehow he's involved.
Surprised it took so long to address.
Well, he's clearing that up now. And also we'll talk about how people are scared for Justin Bieber because they think he's in a cult. They have to have it.
By the end of today, Cassie will be done. So they have all day today to ask her whatever they want to ask her.
Because obviously she's about to pop. And that's like...
Which is totally understandable.
So if she did pop, if she did give birth, let's say the technical term, over the weekend, you know what would happen then, Devin?
I don't.
Mistrial, baby.
Why do you say that? What?
Because she's due back on the stand to give testimony. And if she can't give testimony anymore...
No, she's giving testimony today.
I know. I was saying, what if...
Oh, like she gave birth and then
that's why. That's the
delayed.
reason. If she wasn't pregnant, I don't think the judge would have said you have to finish by today.
Oh, yeah. No, 100%. Obviously. That's the whole, that's the whole crux of the argument.
Obviously.
Yeah.
You didn't explicitly, spell it out.
But Diddy's team is also pissed off because they're like, we want as much time as we can have.
Now, here's where things get surreal. According to multiple people who were inside, the moment the witness started talking about emotional control, manipulation, and being silenced, a speaker glitch, or maybe a court tech accident, caused Prince's When Doves Cry to play. Yeah, that song. This is what it sounds like when doves cry. Some say it was background noise from someone's phone. Others insist it was coming from the AV equipment that was being used for video evidence. But what everyone agrees on? Diddy's entire demeanor shifted. His jaw clenched. He stood up, and then he completely lost it.
The last freak off tape that just got sold on the dark net, which I know because I monitor, went for $500 million. It had multiple stars in it. Nicki Minaj, Rihanna, Chris Brown, Justin Bieber, Drake. It was a really interesting night in Calabasas, and he just sold that footage.
Her voice is low at times. The defense did tell her if it's too much, I can read them, but there were many times early on this morning where she read some of those explicit details where she is clearly excited about a freak off and talks about entertaining other people in the bedroom.
And what has Diddy's demeanor been in this cross-examination as well?
There was a moment where Sean Combs was nodding in agreement when they brought up a message that he sent her where he said, one of my favorite times of the freak-offs is when we're able to make love after. And then she responds, that's the same for me. Now, what's interesting here is that does match what she told prosecutors or what she's been telling the jury all along, which is she did this and she said, but she really wanted to spend time with him after the fact. So he was shaking his head at this message where he's almost, I guess, agreeing that he did say, without him saying it, he enjoyed having the freak-offs and then having sex with her after the fact. And her saying, I agree with you. I love having sex with you after too.
One thing that really stands out that she says is that at one point Diddy had a knife inside her mouth and then says, I'm going to give you a Glasgow smile, which is, slitting someone's cheeks. but he's warned against it by a member of his team, saying Diddy's associates would prefer it if she, referring to Ashley, looked normal. She also says that they said to her they could ship her off and sell her to anyone in the world and she'd never be seen again by her parents or loved ones. Now, Ashley did make a police report in 2018 at the time of the alleged incident, and the Contra Costa Sheriff's Department confirmed her report was thoroughly investigated and it was determined the claims were unfounded. Diddy's team said Mr. Combs was nowhere near Orinda, California on the day that she claimed she was assaulted. There's no evidence that Mr. Combs was ever even in the same room as the alleged victim. She's completely unbelievable and no sane person who views the evidence will credit her story.
Eyewitnesses say he looked like he was holding something back, not just anger, but panic. And then, in a moment that will likely be replayed forever, in whispers and headlines, he shouted something at his attorney, slammed his hand against the defense table, and demanded the music be stopped. The judge ordered a recess immediately, and security moved fast. You could feel the air change, one source said, like someone opened a door to something we weren't supposed to see. And the irony? The song, a cry of emotional torment and inner war, mirrored everything the testimony was starting to expose.
Nobody had to look at him for real. And the truth is nobody did. Everybody laughed and joked about him dancing like a idiot in all them goddamn videos, twirling around in circles. This a bit wild, So I'm just saying, they didn't know, and he wasn't telling them. They just know he got the budget. He go to LA, he talk to Clive, he come back with the bread. Apparently, he has this man's confidence. Yeah, I'm sure that man was very confident with his in his mouth.
We made love.
Who you made love with?
Diddy, Bow Wow, Busta Rhymes.
Everyone knew he was the devil. He's been the devil for 30 years. He has been covered and protected by not only Clive Davis, but Lucian Grange. He was selected to be the demon that he is, to keep the culture in line so the industry could continue for all of its precious jewels. We have too many lost. The list of lost is ridiculous, and everyone knows Diddy was selected for this job. He's the Judas.
Major developments involving the case against Sean Diddy Combs, what he decided in court today, and what this now means, the move coming just 4 days before his trial is set to begin. Here's Aaron Katursky.
Tonight, Sean Combs makes it official. He's rejecting the government's offer to plead guilty and spare himself the possibility of a prolonged term in prison. When asked if he turned down the offer, Combs answered, "Yes, I do, Your Honor," as he stood in a baggy beige jail uniform. Terms were not disclosed, but prosecutors did say a plea could result in a shorter sentence for Combs than if he's convicted.
Well, Bill and Sade, accepting a plea agreement would mean that Sean Combs would have to admit to trafficking and force. And today he made it very clear that was not going to happen. Diddy maintained all along these encounters involved consenting adults and plans to take his chances that a jury agrees.
Ever felt aggrieved and targeted by the government? He feels an obligation to those people to say, you know what? Maybe I can break the model. Maybe I can show the world that a black man can win, in federal court. And I think he probably is the only person I know of who might be able to actually accomplish that.
Buffy invited me for weeks, asking me to come and teach him how to, wanted me to be his acting coach for a while. Go there and he's sitting around just looking. I'm like, okay, what's the material you want to work on? He's just looking at me. Then next thing you know, okay, hey, will you help me? I want to hear your music. So I come over there and I play the music. And he's sitting there, just looking at me, like waiting. Okay. So then my assistant was like, he wants to hang out with you next week. And I was like, for what? He's like, I think he's trying to f*** you.
This is where it gets deeper, because some people online are saying it wasn't an accident at all. That maybe, just maybe, someone in the courtroom wanted that song to play. See, Prince was famously against the music industry's exploitation and was outspoken about artists taking control of their voices and legacies. And what was the witness describing? Being controlled, being silenced, having no say. The moment When Doves Cry played, it wasn't just music, it was a message. So, was it a glitch? A coincidence? Or was someone sending Diddy a very public reminder of the voices he couldn't mute anymore? Let's be real, if you were in that courtroom and heard that song play right as someone accused Diddy of emotional control, would you believe it? Was an accident? Or do you think someone planned it? Drop your take in the comments. I want your full theory. And yes, I reply to everyone who shares.
Elaborate, sometimes days-long parties by coercing victims through drugs, threats, and manipulation. They claim to have video evidence, and some of the accusations echo details from over 70 civil lawsuits filed against Combs over the last 30 years.
You guys weren't even 18 years old. You couldn't escape. You couldn't get out of there. There were so many times I tried to intervene. There was a lot of times.
This is going to be such a massive trial, like maybe the biggest Hollywood trial. God knows which way it's going to go. Is it going to go on for weeks?
Oh, for sure, weeks.
At trial, Combs will ditch the jail garb and wear ordinary clothes. As his lawyers argue, the evidence shows consenting adults being intimate in their own way.
Would you be open to a plea bargain?
Well, it's not up to me. It's up to Mr. Combs, and I don't see it happening. Why? Because he believes he's innocent. He believes he's innocent. And what's more, he believes that he needs to stand up, not just for himself, for his family, and for everybody who's been targeted by the federal government.
The decision guarantees Combs will face trial beginning just 4 days from now that will test whether one of music's most prolific figures used his power, wealth, and fame to exploit both women and men for decades.
The deck is stacked against him. They've got a ton of evidence. Take the plea deal, dude. Just take it.
Well, my guess is that, because we don't know the deal of the plea deal. At least I don't think we do.
True.
And I think he also feels an obligation to people in general. Maybe it's black people, maybe it's white people, maybe it's anybody who's...
Back up a little bit, please.
How can you support your father? How do you support him moving forward?
After the outburst, Diddy reportedly left the courtroom looking rattled. Eyes low, lips tight, completely different from his usual camera-ready vibe. The judge called for a full recess and cleared the courtroom for over an hour. And what's wild, the witness never even got to finish their story. Whatever they were about to say was cut short. And now, everyone's speculating that the music wasn't the only trigger, but that it reminded Diddy of something bigger. Maybe a memory, maybe a regret. Maybe something he knew was about to surface and couldn't stop. All we know is this. After that day, the energy in the courtroom was different. People were walking on eggshells. The press was quiet, even shaken. And Diddy? He never quite regained that cool composure again. Whatever that Prince song stirred up, it hit hard. And the trial? It's only getting darker from here. After Diddy's courtroom meltdown, all eyes were on the one person who had him visibly spiraling. The witness on the stand. And let's just say, she was no random side character in this saga. According to insiders, this woman had once been deep inside Diddy's world. She wasn't just a party guest or industry extra. She was close. She saw things. She knew things. And that day, she walked into the courtroom with a kind of quiet storm energy. Not loud, not dramatic, but terrifyingly calm. Like someone who's been holding a secret for years and finally decided, enough. At first, her tone was steady, controlled. She laid out her timeline, explained how she met Diddy, how the relationship shifted from glamorous to manipulative, and how she'd allegedly been isolated from the outside world. The courtroom was silent, no side chatter, no coughing, nothing. Every word she said seemed to press down on Diddy's defense like weights on a glass table. But then, as she started recalling one particular night, the one she called a turning point, her voice cracked, just for a second. And that's when the music played. That moment. That exact line. It was like something in the air cracked too. Even though the courtroom tech scrambled to fix the situation, the damage was done. That surreal song, When Doves Cry, had already imprinted itself onto the testimony. It felt too perfect, too symbolic. And as the song stopped and the room reset, the witness continued, visibly shaken but determined. He always wanted to control the story, she said, but the truth never stopped existing just because he silenced it. Chills, literal chills. A few jurors reportedly shifted in their seats. Some looked down. But you know what no one did? Laugh, smile, roll their eyes. No one dismissed her. And this is where the power shift became real. Diddy's legal team, usually so confident, so buttoned up, started floundering. His lead attorney objected multiple times in the span of just a few minutes. They tried to label parts of her statement as irrelevant. One of them even asked for a mistrial. But the judge wasn't having it. "She's testifying to her lived experience," he said. And with that, the defense strategy cracked just a little more. You could feel it in the tension, in the silence, in Diddy's body language. No longer leaning back with that smug, untouchable aura, he was sitting forward, hands clenched, like he already knew what was coming next and couldn't stop it. Would you have kept testifying after a moment like that? Being emotionally cracked open in front of your alleged abuser, national media, and total strangers? Or would you have shut down? Be honest in the comments. I reply to every single thought. By the end of that day, no one was the same. Not the jury, not the lawyers, and definitely not Diddy. That single testimony, raw, gut-wrenching, and now forever associated with one of the most emotionally haunting songs ever made, became the moment people stopped asking if the stories were true and started asking how much worse they could get. Reporters outside said the vibe had flipped, from sensational spectacle to something darker, something real. Diddy didn't speak to press. His team dodged questions. But the witness? She walked out with her head high. And the courtroom? It may. Never forget the day the music and the truth collided in front of them. The courtroom may have recessed, but the internet? It went feral. Within minutes of Diddy's outburst and the witness's emotional breakdown, reporters were scrambling to get the story out. And TikTok? Already flooded with edits of the incident. Someone even clipped footage from the courthouse sketch artist and layered it with "When Doves Cry." The clip exploded, millions of views in hours. Headlines screamed "Diddy unhinged as Prince haunts the trial" and "Witness brings the court to a standstill." People weren't just following this trial anymore, they were living in it. Refreshing feeds, sharing theories, obsessing over every detail like it was the next episode of a true crime docuseries. Here's where things start to feel intentional. Anonymous sources, possibly jurors, maybe court staff, began contacting journalists, whispering about the vibe in the room, how the energy shifted the second Diddy stood up, how the witnesses' words didn't sound rehearsed, they sounded remembered. And here's what really raised eyebrows. One of the leaks claimed that this wasn't the first time Diddy reacted this way, that during a prior closed-door session, he allegedly became agitated when another name from the music world was mentioned, a name that's still sealed in court documents. Could more iconic artists be tied to this mess behind the scenes? Normally. In a case this explosive, you'd expect at least a few celebs to chime in. Vague tweets, reposted statements, maybe a shady lyric or two. But not this time. Everyone is dead silent. The A-listers who once partied with Diddy? Ghost. The producers, who built careers off Bad Boy Records? Crickets. Even former friends are ducking interviews and postponing public appearances. Why? Because it feels like everyone's waiting to see how deep this rabbit hole goes. The moment that Prince's song played, it stopped being just about Diddy. It became about the entire system he was part of. Who enabled him? Who stayed quiet? Who knew? Let's talk theories. Because social media isn't buying the accidental song explanation. There's a whole thread on X, formerly Twitter, connecting Prince's anti-industry legacy to this exact courtroom moment. Some believe a court staffer leaked the audio as a statement. Others think the witness herself may have arranged it. And the wildest theory? That the ghost of Prince was spiritually dragging Diddy from beyond. Okay, that one's dramatic. But this is a drama channel, so we're here for the mess. Still, the bigger point is this. People don't believe it was random. They believe it was symbolic, intentional, maybe even premeditated. What's your theory? Did someone behind the scenes trigger that song for a reason? Or was it divine chaos? I genuinely want to hear your take in the comments. And as always, I read and reply to everyone. Here's the creepiest part. After all that noise, everything's quiet again. Court's back in session, but you can feel the tension in the air. Like everyone's bracing for the next breakdown, the next twist, the next person to snap. Lawyers are moving carefully. Reporters are choosing words like landmines. And Diddy? He's back in his seat. Stone-faced, silent, but it's not confidence anymore. It's pressure. You can see it. This isn't the Diddy who danced in music videos or cracked jokes at award shows. This is a man watching his empire tilt toward collapse. And he knows one more witness, one more clip, one more leak, and it's over. Diddy's always been the guy who could laugh off scandal, flash a smile, drop a statement, spin the narrative. But not anymore. Not here, because when the court played that second clip, one involving a conversation between Diddy and another unnamed associate, the mask cracked. It wasn't what was said in the audio that hit hardest. It was how it was said, the tone, the control, the rage beneath, the calm. And when the witness confirmed what the jury had just heard, when she said, "That's when I knew I had to leave or I wouldn't survive," Diddy flinched. It was small, but it was there. For a man used to running rooms, it was a loss of control. You know that moment in a movie when the villain realizes the walls are closing in? That was the vibe. People in the courtroom weren't just observing anymore, they were reacting. A few jurors wiped their eyes. A member of the press actually gasped when the audio cut off. The judge had to pause again because the energy was too unstable. And Diddy? He stared straight ahead like if he blinked, it would all come undone. This wasn't a scandal anymore. It was grief. It was rage. It was the unraveling of a legacy. And everyone in that room could feel it happening. In real time. And just when you thought it couldn't escalate further, it did. Because court records revealed that 2 more women are scheduled to testify next week, both of whom were allegedly present at private parties. Both of whom are said to have experienced eerily similar behavior. One of them is reportedly ready to name names. Big ones. Celebrity names. The kind that don't just trend. They shake the industry. Suddenly, this isn't just about Diddy's downfall. It's about how many others could fall with him. And real talk, if another celebrity you love gets dragged into this, would you be surprised at this point? Or does it feel like Hollywood's been protecting too many of its untouchables for too long? Tell me in the comments. I'm here. I reply to every thought. Behind the scenes, reps are panicking. Artists are reviewing contracts, PR teams are spinning. You know how we always say the industry protects its own? Well, that protection feels like it's cracking. Because the more this trial reveals, the more people realize how many eyes were looking away. There's even buzz that a major network is prepping an emergency docuseries. Not months from now. Now. Everyone wants the footage. Everyone wants the rights. But what they can't script is what's about to hit the courtroom next. Because this isn't fiction, this is real, and it's getting darker. Diddy didn't just build a brand. He built an empire. He shaped music. He shaped style. He made people believe in the dream of power through talent. But that legacy, it's bleeding. Every testimony, every audio, every meltdown is unraveling the version of him the world once idolized. And when that Prince song played, that single eerie, haunting moment, it felt like the ghost of every voice that had ever been silenced was finally speaking back. And now, there's no going back. No publicist in the world can spin this trial into a "come back, this is what it sounds like" when empires fall. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I reply to all of them. And if you want more raw, unfiltered courtroom drama like this, make sure you like this video, subscribe, and ring the bell. Because trust me, the next chapter in this story, it's going to blow the roof off everything we thought we knew. The whoa. Trial paused again after Diddy's outburst. Not for a few minutes, for the rest of the day. Officials called it a logistical recess, but insiders say it was really because the courtroom energy had gotten too volatile to manage. Jurors were shaken. Court staff were tight-lipped. And Diddy, he didn't return. He left through a private exit, surrounded by his team, looking like a man who just watched his empire burn and couldn't decide whether to scream or surrender. It wasn't just a momentary breakdown, it was a man coming face to face with a reality he thought money could erase. And the haunting part? That song, "When Doves Cry," is still echoing in everyone's minds like a soundtrack no one can turn off. They can't speak, they're forbidden to post. But they don't have to, because people inside said the jury's expressions that day were unlike anything they'd shown before. Some looked pale, some looked stunned. One juror reportedly kept glancing at the witness stand long after it was empty, like they were still processing the weight of what was said. And now, with more testimony on the horizon, the question isn't whether Diddy's reputation is damaged. That part's done. The question is whether the jury believes these women. And based on the energy in that room, the tides have shifted. Social media has exploded, TikTok edits, YouTube breakdowns, live tweet threads from inside the courthouse. Everyone is dissecting. Diddy's every move? The jaw clench, the outburst, the way he shut down when that song played. And it's no longer just gossip channels talking. Legal experts, trauma advocates, former industry insiders. People are starting to connect dots they never had the courage to connect before. Old stories that were brushed off as rumors are now being looked at through a different lens, because suddenly they feel like warnings. Warnings we didn't listen to soon enough. The prosecution has made it clear they're not slowing down. More witnesses have been confirmed, and not just anonymous names, but people who allegedly had firsthand knowledge of Diddy's behavior. People who say they were at the same parties, who received similar texts, who were allegedly told to stay quiet or lose everything. It's not just building a case, it's building a pattern. And that's what terrifies Diddy's team the most. Because once a pattern is established in court, even the most powerful name can't outrun it. Not in front of a jury, not under oath. Do you think Diddy will take the stand himself, or will he stay silent till the end? And if he does speak, what would you want to hear from him? Let's talk in the comments. You already know I reply to everyone. There's a moment in every downfall where things go quiet. The cameras turn off, the crowds go home, the trial ends, but the echo, it lingers. That's where we are now. Diddy's trial isn't over yet, but the image of him snapping in court, triggered by a song he didn't choose, in a moment he couldn't control, that's already cemented. And when that final verdict comes, it won't just be about guilt or innocence. It'll be about what this trial exposed. The silence, the fear, the power plays hidden behind record deals and velvet ropes. Because for years, people whispered about Diddy, about the control, about the secrets, but they whispered quietly. And now they're standing, speaking, testifying, and the world is finally listening. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I reply to all of them. And if you want to keep up with every shocking twist in this trial and the industry fallout that's coming next, hit like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you don't miss what's still about to go down. Trust me, this story is far from over,